Hello and welcome to episode 17 of Stucky's Travels. Today we're going to show you guys part one of our trip to Thailand. So make sure you have your passport, be ready for a 24 plus hour flight with layovers, and you'll need your Hep A, Hep B, and typhoid shots, along and probably some malaria pills if you're traveling outside of Bangkok.
So, one of the things that I like to do anytime we go somewhere out of the country is buy souvenirs. The exchange rate the first time we went to Thailand was 33 to 1, and this past time it was about 30 to 1. So, $1 American was 30 Thai baht, which means your money goes a long way and you can get some really cool souvenirs. So, an easy thing to pick up that's easy to bring back with you are magnets. So, we have several different magnets from Thailand with different cities that we traveled to. Also, there's a lot of homemade jewelry, which I'll show you more of in another episode, but you can get little customized frames from different cities that you're in. This was from Chiang Mai. Hand painted fans, paintings. So just so many really neat things, ranging from less than $1 up to a few dollars. So I recommend packing light, saving plenty of room to bring souvenirs back. Also, you can get clothing for really reasonable prices. The next couple episodes will maybe wear some of the clothing that we purchased, but just
So here you can see Thailand kind of in the middle of Southeast Asia. And obviously, halfway around the world takes quite a while to get over there.
So, in this episode, we're going to talk about areas that are pretty central to Bangkok. Your international flight will most likely take you to Bangkok. There are some international flights to the north, to Chiang Mai, or in the south to Phuket, but you're going to find the most reasonable rate flying into Bangkok. So, we're going to start in Bangkok, then we'll move about an hour and a half drive south to Pattaya. Then we'll go about an hour and a half north to Ayutthaya, and then we'll go about 2.5 hours northwest of Bangkok to Kanchanaburi.
So here you can see just an example of the ornate temples that they have in Bangkok.
So about 90% of the population is Buddhist. So there are Buddhist temples everywhere, and the Buddhists believe in life after this life. So it's a very safe place to be because they don't want things that they did during this lifetime to negatively impact their next life.
And you guys will see a very common theme kind of throughout these, lots of elephants, some dragons here and there, depending on which part of culture and which of the surrounding countries were there when the temples were built. You also see lots and lots of color in most of the temples.
Also, you'll see Buddha statues in nearly all of them. Something important for the tourist to remember is that your head is supposed to always be lower than Buddha's head, and your feet, out of respect, are not supposed to face Buddha, so they need to be facing a different direction.
When visiting the temples, you need to make sure you wear the right type of clothes.
So, for females, you need to be covering your shoulders and your legs. So, it's just best to wear pants. We usually wear shorts that have zip on legs. So, it's very warm in Thailand, but that way you can add the legs, have them in your backpack with you, add the legs when you go into a temple to be respectful.
Even guys should be wearing something that at least covers the knees. So a lot of times it's probably just more respectful to wear pants.
So this is Wat Po. Wat Po is a very large reclining Buddha. So we had to put it in two different pictures. You're seeing the head of the Buddha on the left and the feet on the right. And for size comparison, you can see Miles's head in the frame.
So this was the Grand Palace. Don't get fooled or tricked by anybody telling you that the Grand Palace is closed today. It is very rare that it's actually closed. A lot of times there are people trying to get you to go somewhere else and to pay their. Just make sure you don't believe them, or you might end up 5 kilometers away from where you think you want to be.
It is 500 baht to get into the Grand Palace, which is about $16, over $16 per person. At first, I thought this was kind of expensive, but it was definitely worth it. A lot of the other temples are at free admission or maybe only 50 baht, but this is the Grand Palace, so I do recommend that you spend the money to see it.
So this picture image gives you an idea of what's inside the palace.
A lot of really ornate tile work. If you think about how hard it would have been to create these things and the materials it would take to use, it's quite spectacular. The thing on the left is called a stupa. Oftentimes they're painted gold, mostly. And then elephants, as Miles said earlier, are sort of a common symbol throughout Thailand.
So this is the Temple of the Golden Mount. And as you can see from the little image on the left, you have to climb quite a ways up to get to it.
It's a lot of stairs. Remember, it's hot, it's humid. I believe it's over 300 steps, but it is a really spectacular view of the city from the top. This is Wat Arun, which means Temple of the Dawn. It's located across the river. You can take a little boat from one side of the river to the next. It's very close to Wat Po. So after you do the Grand Palace, then Wat Po, you can walk just a few hundred meters and take a boat ferry across for like I think maybe 10 baht, if that much. Again, you can see the really ornate tile work.
So this gives you an idea of the boat ferries and what you can do and see. You can see people bring you food on the boat ferries, all sorts of different fruits that you can buy for fairly cheap.
Depending on what type of boat trip you're on, they might stop and let you feed fish. The larger ferries are just concentrating on moving people from one side of the river to the other. But you can also take boat tours, and they'll let you stop and buy the food or feed the fish and things like that.
So this is, there are a number of places in town that you can actually watch Muay Thai boxing, and it's definitely really neat. You'll see all sorts of betting going on, and if you can understand what's going on, maybe even place a bet yourself.
Very vicious though. I mean, it's like kickboxing with regular boxing, with fighting, with it's really, and the fans are going crazy the whole time. So next we left Bangkok and we went to Pattaya, which is south of Bangkok. And one of the things you can do is take a zip line off the 55th story of the Pattaya Park Tower. And so you can see three pictures of Miles coming down the pass.
Not too far away is the Million Year Stone Park and Crocodile Farm.
It costs 400 baht per person to get in, but well worth it. Many things to do, including beautiful plants, butterflies, and many other cool things in the pictures yet to come, including crocodiles galore.
Getting lifted up by elephants.
Only 40 baht, so like $1.30 to have an elephant pick you up. Pretty cool experience.
Watching a guy about get eaten by a crocodile.
They're trained professionals. Or getting your picture taken with a Malaysian sun bear or a tiger. Next, we traveled to the Sanctuary of Truth. It's a Hindu-Buddhist temple that's still in construction. They started building it out of wood in 1981, and it still continues today. So when you go in, you wear a hard hat. It does cost 500 baht to get in, but it's amazing to see how ornate the work is.
So here's some examples of them still working. They work to replace wooden parts, but they also build new parts constantly.
Also, while you're there, you can watch traditional dance shows.
And get kissed by dolphins.
The dolphins performed a show, and then after the show, you could shake its hand or get a kiss by it. This is a traditional dish in Thailand, pad thai. Pad thai, depending on what part of the country you're in, might look a little bit different. So, for example, in this location, there was more bean sprouts than in some other spots, but usually the noodles with some sort of sauce and then other vegetables mixed in.
So then we went to Kanchanaburi and we stayed at, was it?
Sam's Raft House.
Yep. And as you can see, it was a raft house. We were right on the River Kwai. And when we used the bathroom, it went right into the river.
It is amazingly inexpensive to stay in Kanchanaburi. The Sam's Raft House still today. The bungalows that are on land are only 250 baht per night, so about a little over $7 per night to stay all night. It's more expensive to stay on the raft house because of the experience, but it's still around $10. There's also a neat cave to explore that has a temple inside. You can also roll dice, which tells you a number that corresponds to like a fortune that you can read. And if you don't like your fortune, you can rip it up and try again.
And here you can see an Allied Forces cemetery from World War II.
And there was even a little museum. You can see by the flags that the Allied forces included the United States, Great Britain, and Australia, and France. Japan occupied Thailand during World War II. So a lot of the history revolves around, from that time period, revolves around Allied forces being killed in this area or forced into hard labor, which we'll talk about later.
And here's the famed bridge over the River Kwai, which the 1950s movie was actually.
It is a pedestrian bridge, but it's also an active railroad. So if you look closely at the picture, you can see little bump outs where if you're walking on the bridge and a train starts coming, then you can step to the side as the train rumbles past. This railroad is also known as the Death Railway because when it was built by the Japanese forces forcing the labor, there were 90,000 Asian slaves and 12,000 Allied forces who died during the construction of the Burmese Thailand Railroad, which later was nicknamed the Death Railway.
And if you're looking for something tasty, they have all sorts of insects to try.
There's different types of larvae, like you see on the right, or crickets, or even really large water boatmen to try. Miles ate a little bit of everything until the wings of the cricket got stuck in his teeth.
And then for some reason that kind of pushed me over the edge. Almost puked. Almost. That was the end of that.
So after we left Kanchanaburi, we went to Ayutthaya, which was the capital of Thailand in the 1300s and was active until the 1700s.
You can see all sorts of old stupas.
So on the left, you can see a nice old ruins with a beautiful reflection. But on the right, you can see one of the most photographed pictures from Ayutthaya, which is a Buddha head that has been encased by tree roots at Wat Mahatma. Again, this isn't very high off the ground, but you're supposed to always remain your head lower than Buddha's head, so you have to sort of like crouch down as you approach the area.
And this is a very ancient reclining Buddha.
So you can see how the ruins look much different than Bangkok currently looks, but how they still have the same general reclining Buddhas, the stupas. It's amazing how well these structures have held up over time, considering they were built in the 1300s. And then the Burmese came in and did a lot of destruction. So, like the ancient capital was burned by the Burmese, so all of the intricate wooden parts of the temples are no longer there. They also cut a lot of the heads off of the stone Buddhas.
And that's the end of part 1 of Thailand.
In the next episode, we're going to talk about going north. So you can take a train overnight if you choose to Chiang Mai. If you have plenty of time, then the train is a very cost-effective way because you get on the train around 9 p.m. and you wake up around 8 in the morning and you've arrived in Chiang Mai. Very reasonably priced. Your seat starts out as a seat but then transitions into a bed for the evening. Or if you are pushed for time, you can fly on AirAsia. There's very reasonably priced flights, probably $50 at the most to get you up to Chiang Mai. So it'd save you a 12-hour travel route. So in the next episode, prepare to move to the northern part where Thailand borders Myanmar and Laos. Thank you.
Thanks.